We believe PropertyHeads can be to property what LinkedIn has been to the jobs market.
Rightmove, Zoopla on the market, own the portal space really.
I've put a lot of personal thought into that question.
Hi, Graham from Lock Consultancy. Today I'm going to interview Ben Davis, who's the CEO of a new property portal called PropertyHeads. They're claiming to be the property social network. Sounds a little bit different, but they're in a market that's already dominated by Rightmove, Zoopla and on the market. What are PropertyHeads going to do differently, and how are PropertyHeads going to turn your heads as estate agents? The property social network sounds intriguing, and if anything's going to disrupt the big three portals that are out there right now, I think it's probably going to be something around social media and social networking. So I'm off to interview Ben Davis, the CEO, to find out a bit more about it. Ben Davis from PropertyHeads, nice to meet you, Ben.
Good to meet you, thanks for coming.
No problem. So talking about the portal market and my thoughts on the way up here, and I've been putting a lot of thought into this recently as well. It's crowded, but it's crowded by a minimum number of participants. So Rightmove, Zoopla and on the market own the portal space really, from the point of view of estate agents and consumers. There's a couple of entrants trying to disrupt that, and I think that there's an opportunity to disrupt the portal market. And what you've got sounds interesting in theory. You're certainly a brave man for entering that race, because it is an expensive race to enter, and it's very, very difficult to crack that market. So what is PropertyHeads, and why is it different to anything else out there, do you think?
Okay, so it's a big question that I could spend all day answering, but PropertyHeads is a property portal with an integrated social network. We believe PropertyHeads can be to property what LinkedIn has been to the jobs market. So LinkedIn has replaced a lot of the traditional job boards. And how has it done that? It's done that through being more useful for both sides, so for the employers and for the people looking for jobs. And it's done it in a way that's been more engaging for both sides as well. So that's what PropertyHeads is trying to do. We have a property portal, like the guys you mentioned. We have most of the same functionality of them as they do. We also have a couple of interesting features they don't have and would be difficult for them to replicate given they're not a social network. So an example of that would be if an agent wants, they can invite their vendors to review the properties that they're selling, and that will show up in the property listings on PropertyHeads. We can do that because we have the member on the platform already, or we have the vendor on the platform already, and we have the estate agent on the platform already. Those comments would only ever appear in a listing if they were approved by an estate agent. So everything we do, we try and keep the estate agent in control of the process.
And how many estate agents do you have on the portal as it stands?
So we've got about 4,000 today. We're speaking to a lot of the big corporate or the biggest corporate agency groups. We haven't really had any no's as such as to why people wouldn't come on the platform, but those groups obviously take a little bit longer than the independents, and the independents, there's just a lot of them to get round. So we have ambitions to be whole of market, and we think because we're free to estate agents, we don't see why we can't achieve that goal over time.
Okay, so you're free to list, and that's a lifetime pledge, I assume?
It is, yes. So I know, I think even Rightmove back in the day offered free listings to get people signed up. But what we're saying is we're free to list now. We're free for agents to respond to an unlimited number of inquiries as well, and we will always be free. And actually we can do that because we're a social network, and there are so many other ways to monetize the audience we get into the site. And what we really want is great content for our users, and estate agent listings and letting agent listings are part of, not all, of that great content.
So Ben, talking about potential customers that you're looking to attract and the types of agents you're looking for, are you accepting listings from all types, so traditional, online, hybrid, and how about private listings as well from individuals for selling their house?
Okay, so I've put a lot of personal thought into that question. and I've come to what I think is the most sensible, pragmatic solution, but I'm always happy to speak to, get others' opinion. I think we're trying to be a consumer-led business, so I think consumers want the widest choice of stock available. So for that reason, we are using or allowing to list both traditional, online and hybrid agents. Where we draw the line is we don't have private sellers on the platform, and that's partly a quality control issue, partly just to avoid the headache of having to deal with so many potential listings. But yeah, I think it's mainly due to quality control, and I think that's why some of these non-property related businesses, no matter how big and well known they are, have struggled when it comes to challenging the dominant portals, because unless you have that focus on properties, you do end up, it seems, with a whole load of substandard listings that the consumer just doesn't want to trawl through.
And is there any way of getting a demo of the site if agents are interested, or is it just a case of them going on and having a play around with it, or can they get an insight into the workings of the portal itself?
It's live online now, PropertyHeads.com. Anyone can go on and have a play around. What I would say is you can see the property listings without joining. However, you need to join the site to get access to the social network side of things, to try out the instant messaging. We have something called deal groups as well, which might be quite interesting for agents. It's similar to a Facebook group in the way it's been built. Agents control deal groups. They invite people into a group. It's a private group. We've got secure document depository, a chat wall, and a checklist for the conveyancing process. So the idea is agent invites in a couple of conveyancers for the buyer and seller, maybe a surveyor, maybe a lender, I don't know, whoever the agent thinks is appropriate, and coordinates the conveyancing process in that secure group. It just gives them more transparency to the whole process. But again, like I say, you have to be logged in to see those features.
Yeah. And so agents can easily upload their properties to the PropertyHeads site via their...
It works in exactly the same way as, I don't want to keep mentioning other companies' names, but as the leading property portals. So yeah, we'll have a relationship directly with the software provider. All we'll need is half a dozen bullet points from the estate agent, things like branch address, telephone number, email, who your software provider is, and ideally the contact person at the software provider. We'll liaise with the software company, get your listings up, usually within a couple of days. There's no contracts either, so it's a couple of days to get up, but if you want your listings taken off for whatever reason, you can do that straight away.
In terms of USPs, have you got sort of 2 or 3 USPs over the other leading portals that you feel will give you an edge?
I think we've got more. You mean from an estate agent perspective, presumably? Yeah, so the obvious one is we're free, and we're committed to always being free, but I don't want to push that. I want people to come check out PropertyHeads and list with us on the merits of the site. So as well as being free, we are a social network, which has got some really profound implications for estate agents' branding and overall marketing strategy, I think. So unlike a traditional portal, we encourage interaction and relationship building directly with home movers and potential home movers through the social network by posting relevant content. And again, because we're a social network, what it means is a lot of the GDPR restrictions that surround email marketing don't apply to your communication over the social network. So just because Mrs. Jones has never expressed an interest in buy-to-let to you before doesn't mean you can't share your buy-to-let related opportunities with her over the social network.
So agents are always looking for ways to extract value from their portals in terms of leads. So they want leads for buyer leads and they want seller leads. Does PropertyHeads cater for those type of leads?
So, being free, we're obviously going to, nobody's going to undercut us on the cost of a lead. Arguably, if we don't provide you any leads, we're of no benefit either. But so on the buyer side, I think the traditional portals are they're designed to deliver buyer and indeed tenant inquiries, and they do that reasonably well. We should match them on that front. Like I say, we've got a portal. It's got most of the same features as the other portals have. But I think where PropertyHeads really stands out is the social network again. It gives agents a platform for nurturing relationships with landlords and with vendors over a longer period of time. Several points of engagement throughout the year. And that's how you win that business, I think. You don't just rock up on someone's doorstep and they entrust their property portfolio to you.
Yeah. The likes of Rightmove and Zoopla deliver leads, and they deliver them via email generally. There's no sort of instant messaging, which I understand you've got on your website, which is quite an interesting point to discuss, because in the world of prop tech, which I'm very in favour of, but at the same time I think there's too much of it. And just the basic prop tech is all that agents need these days as things stand. And one of the things that I'm really keen on is instant messaging, which you've got on your site. So things like WhatsApp I love. I think it's a really good way for agents to stay in touch with their customers. How does your instant messaging function work exactly?
An agent would have to be logged into the site to receive the instant message. It's very, very similar to how it works on Facebook. And we think it's becoming increasingly important. The younger generation, which unfortunately I'm no longer part of, seem to want everything right now. And I don't think the traditional portals are really set up to provide that, that speed of communication that they've come to expect. But it's not just the consumer that can benefit; it's the agents as well. You're standing at a property waiting for the potential buyer to turn up. They're 15 minutes late. What do you do? You can phone them. They're not answering their phone. You can try and instant message them. It's just another way you might be able to get in touch immediately.
And how are the messages delivered on both sides if you're doing that? So how would a viewer pick up a message if they were late for an appointment, and how would the agent then receive their reply?
So right now, today, you would have to be logged into the site, and you would get a little like a ping sound, and then you can open the instant messenger window on the site. My understanding is it's very little development work to then get that to come directly to your phone in the form of a text message, which isn't really instant message, I suppose, or we can have like a standalone app on the phone, but we're trying to keep everything, contained within the website at the moment.
So Ben, talking about the subject of communication and staying in touch with your customers and reaching out to potential new customers, this is really vital for estate agents in this day and age that they do that, and they do that within the laws. So obviously GDPR is here and we have to abide by those rules. But what kind of tools have you got on the site that allows agents to be able to communicate with their audience or potential audiences?
Okay, well, I guess the big difference between us and existing portals is we actively encourage connections and collaborations between agents and potential clients. We're not trying to control that process because we don't need your subscription money each month. We're free for you to use. We want you to make the most out of the site. Not only do we encourage that kind of interaction, because we're a social network, a lot of the GDPR restrictions that apply to email and telephone simply don't apply to social networks. I'm not going to be here on video giving GDPR related advice, but certainly there's a lot more freedom over what you can post on a social network versus what you can put in an email. And we think the PropertyHeads is the cleanest, most efficient way to stay in touch with your past clients, even your past prospects. Yes, you can connect with them on Facebook, but are you going to sort of wade through all their friendship, holiday related content to maybe get an idea of what they're thinking of doing in the property space? I'm too busy, you're probably too busy. On PropertyHeads, they're just posting about property. If an old client of yours says or posts, "Hey, look everybody, I've just given my garden a fantastic makeover." As an agent, you can say to them, "That looks great, Mr. Smith. Looks like you've added a lot of value to the home in the 3 years since I sold it to you. Why don't I come and give you a free valuation?"